So here we go.
For the sake of ease, I'm going to just pull out what we did. So I'm going to start at the very beginning so that we don't have to go through the whole process. And guess what? I'm going to give you the prompts that I used so that you guys have examples of what this looks like. So the first thing that we want to do is we made money last year. We have goals for this year. So I utilized a real example, a real company who is using the technology as well as my consulting services. They made 1.36 and change million in revenue in 2025. Their gross profit was 509, and their net income was 7834. They have a 2026 revenue goal of 1.8 million, and they want to improve their profit margin to 15%. So I basically put in, listen, we would like to optimize our net profit margin. This is what our mix is. What are the top 5 reasons businesses in our industry get stuck at this revenue level, and how do we overcome them? Because this business hired me, they've been in this revenue range for 3 years and they're stuck. Okay, so they want to break through the ceiling. I do have this prompt for you. And so I used the CEO brain. So I'm going to show you down here, if you can see, we have trained, we have 80, I have 84 partners, and we trained a CEO brain. We have CFO, we have COO, we have analysts trained. So it's basically like attorney, marketing and branding, social media, sales and closing, and investor brain. So what we have done is we have created that advisory board for you so that you can select what reasoning you want specifically for your use case. So we plugged this into the CEO brain, and it literally told you where you are today. It did the math. I got it. I uploaded the financials in it. All I did was put P&L sent by their accountant de-identified. And so it literally calculates their margins. Quick look at your financials. In business, I'm sorry, I'm a business strategist, and we don't know our numbers. We don't know what levers to pull so that we can improve our profitability. So it literally pulled all of those numbers for them, what their then it looked at the targets and told them what the gap is, right? So, hey, based off of your business, your gross margin is 37.5%. For a plumbing company, not bad, but should be closer to 45 to 46. Their net margin, their profit was only 5.2. That's a big X in this particular trade, because solid companies in this industry, even in the small business space, are at least at a 12 to 15% net margin. So when we look at that, it literally gave us the gap and what that means for what we want. And then it said, here are the top 5 reasons plumbing companies get stuck. So it gave the owner constraints and what to do about it, the recurring revenue base, what's happening in their P&L, and how to overcome it. Their pricing and gross margin engineering, how to do this, how do you overcome it, right? So it's giving you the CEO answer for your business strategy in order to ensure that you're able to overcome it. So I'm just going to scroll down because you don't need to read all of this nonsense. If you're not in a plumbing business, it's not really that applicable to you, but it's a strategic analysis of where they are. So I put in here's where I put in the P&Ls. And I went and really dove in to their margin snapshot. Okay, what is happening? And we dove deeper. I'm just going to scroll down because the next thing I do is I go to the financial analyst. I say, okay, great, CFO brain. I went down, I selected CFO, and I said, analyze our financials and indicate opportunities to improve gross and net margin. So make the recommendations for margin improvement based off of our actual financials, right? And so it did. And now if you're using a ChatGPT or you're using a Grok, you must identify everything you put in there, because if you don't want it on a billboard, don't put it in Chat or Grok or any of the others, okay? If you're in a closed system and you have your privacy and your guardrails up, perfect. I work with a lot of financial, medical, legal, and we have a lot of privacy and compliance to deal with. So it literally analyzed all of their expenses and gave the opportunities for margin improvement as a CFO. So this is the CFO lens. And I'm going to scroll down because it's, well, how do you sharpen the plan? What are the CFO recommendations? These are what it wants you to do. And you're going to say, great, I'm an entrepreneur. How the heck do I do a detailed job cost analysis and implement all of these things? I'm just one person. So then I go, great, take all of the recommendations from the CEO and CFO and put them into a prioritized action list for implementation. Begin with quick wins and the things that are going to move the needle. What are the daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly actions to optimize my margins so I can meet my goals? This is the COO brain that I'm using. Keep in mind, I have a small team. This is my team and myself, and I'm overflow in a truck, and I'm also operating as the CEO, COO, and manager. I want to ensure that whatever I implement can be done in a fashion that doesn't add more than 30 to 60 minutes into my day, right? Because we don't have time. We're busy. So the CEO literally breaks it down into a prioritized action plan and tells you what to do daily, weekly, and monthly, your first 30 days, your 60 days, and your 90 days. So this is where we're turning it into the implementation plan, right? I'm just going to scroll. Like I said, I didn't do it live either, Justin, because it goes slow when you're doing it through Zoom. And so as you can see, here's what you're doing. Short term, your first 30 days, that's what you need to do. It then gave the midterm initiatives. Once you're past 30 days, this is what you do in the interim to get you to your goals. And here's the ongoing. It gives you your summary so that you can do this, or you can assign this to team and then ask key questions. So when it asks questions, you answer the questions, because that's going to give you what's really important. So then I switch to, okay, great. Well, you recommended that I add commercial maintenance, because they have commercial in there, but they're about 92% residential plumbing. And one of the recommendations up above was expanding revenue, adding commercial maintenance clients. So I say, I don't really know how to get more in that area. What are the best ways to market or position this to diversify that revenue stream and implement that marketing strategy? So I go to my marketing and branding brain, which is a CMO brain, basically. And it literally gives us the recommended maintenance growth plan. How do you position it? Your core position, your target buyers, your offer design, how to design your package, what your priorities are, and goes into what to do to get contracts. It's a literal step-by-step strategy and implementation plan how to do this. Good news, you're all in NIA. So if this was you, then you can go to NIA and use the new positioning and start this strategy immediately. Not everybody has a group like this, but luckily these people are well networked as well. And so it gives you your channels, and then it gives you how to close commercial maintenance. How do you do a 5-step close that's going to get you, what is the timeline that's expected in the industry? And then it gives you your realistic timeline to build the business line. So you're not going to go from 0, or they're at like 8% commercial currently. You're not going to go from 8% commercial to a 25% commercial overnight. It's going to take time to close those. They have a longer sales cycle. So it tells you exactly what you do to build, exactly how to repeat it, how to scale it, and more, and what metrics to track. So where I'm going with this is, when you have the right tool that is an advisory board, you don't need to spend money on strategic consulting and all of these different personnel. What you can do is you can feed in, simply, we started with your P&L and what your goals are, and use the different brains that are already trained in what to do, so that you can immediately be ready. It gives the offer and goes from there. So I'm just going to kind of pause here, because that was a lot. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see people when my screen is shared. And I'm going to go into some of the ways you can do this if you're using not that tool. What you would do instead with each of these prompts, which, by the way, you will get, I already made this handout, so I'll put that in the chat in a minute. But you're going to say, act as a business strategist who focuses on businesses in the $1 to $5 million range, because this was a $1.4 million revenue range company, okay? So you're going to be very specific, like Justin said earlier, and say, act like this particular consultant. Here are the things that I want you to find here, and upload de-identified. Once again, don't keep your information, or no banking information, no personal information if you're uploading into general. But you're going to be able to put that in and start the process. And in the same thread, you're going to go through, now let's look at it from the CFO, now be a CFO. But what you're going to do at the same time is you're going to pull that out and put it in a second project in, for example, ChatGPT. So you have the CEO answer, and then you're going to pull that out into a second, like make a copy of it and say, now let's look at it from the CFO standpoint. Because in these others, if you're confusing it with how it has to act, it's not going to give you the best result. So you're going to have a CEO, a COO, a marketing, and you're going to start with that P&L piece, or that target goal piece. And you're just going to start each flow in a separate project. And then you're going to copy and paste them together and say, great, give me my implementation plan. So that's how you would leverage this in anything else. So if you're looking for operator, you're going to ask it to operate, like you're going to ask it to act as an operator, a director of operations. You're going to ask it to be a marketing strategist or a copy specialist for LinkedIn. So it's really clear that you're defining the role that chat or whatever, Claude, whoever you're using is operating as. That's going to help you in combination with everything that Justin said about knowing your brain. It's going to help it know how you want your outputs to come. So if there's any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Now I want to go into, and I'm going to do this with a general one. I want to show you exactly how I structure my one-on-ones to close deals, because we're all in NIA here. And I think this would be exceptionally powerful for you. So I'm going to open chat because I think I heard most people are in chat. And so I'm going to demonstrate in something that you know. And I'm going to share ChatGPT. Oh, whoa, where is it on my screen? Can you guys see my screen, ChatGPT? Yes. Okay. So guys, this is an NIA member that I literally had a one-on-one on. And so I put in there, listen, I want you to research Joe. He's with Greenlight Safety. He's in my NIA group. Who are his clients? What are his products and services? Where are the potential synergies? Where are the potential pitfalls? And I have already trained my brain to know that I'm asking for you to research their digital web presence, their LinkedIn, their Facebook and other social profiles, any other media that they have, as well as check review sites. So I've already trained my brain to do that. So I didn't have that in this prompt, but in the prompts that I gave you, I literally list that out so that if you haven't done it so it knows, it's telling me, I'm going to look across the site, the public profiles, and all the credible third-party traces, map it into the client's basis, et cetera. So it gives me exactly who I'm meeting with, right? Hey, this is what he is. This is what he does. This is his client. Based off of his positioning, this is what his clients look like. So before the meeting, I'm already thinking, okay, well, these are the people he's going to be looking for as referral sources. Who in my contacts do I know? This is in the prep phase before the one-on-one. And then what does he provide? Here's all his services. And then where are the potential synergies for you? Well, I host Power CEOs. I've hosted it for 6 years. And so if I were to have him on the show, this is what I could be talking to him about, right? And here's the hook. I did ask him to be on my show, by the way. We literally had a one-on-one this week, which is why this was done. And then if I was looking at consulting and business coaching, what were the possible needs that he and or his clients would have? So it literally goes through, hey, his client personnel is this. These are the potential needs. And then the AI and automation opportunities for him and or his clients, because he's in safety. And then the referral ecosystem. So all of my prep before I even get on the call with him, I know exactly how to position him. I don't have to ask, who are your clients? I can go right into, who are you? What are your values? What is a good referral partner? What does a good client partner relationship look like? So we get strictly down to the most important things so I can be a better referral partner. It also gives me the red flags. Hey, these are the red flags. Well, I'm a business coach, folks. The best way for me to demonstrate business coaching and consulting and in one-on-one is for him to say, hey, look, based off your online presence, here are the pitfalls and the risks. Here are a couple of ways that if I were working with you, I would mitigate this. And this is what it would look like to work with me. Not so that he could work with me, but that he could see the value and the immediate solution that I give him. I gave him 3 things he could literally do with his business to generate more revenue on the call in my one-on-one, which demonstrates me as a coach and a consultant. So now he knows how to refer me and recommend me because he's had an experience of my business. You follow me? When you do your prep and you're asking for this, you see what are the potential pitfalls. It gives me the questions to ask for clarity. And I literally went through this and I had 3 people that I could introduce him to that would be in his client zone, queued up before we even talked. I confirmed that they were good. I brought them to the call and then I demonstrated. And he said, you know what? I have somebody right off the top of my head that really could use what you just did for me. So that is how we can leverage ChatGPT to research our potential business partners, who we might want to do business with, whom we might want to refer to, and always do before we prep on a one-on-one. So we can also use this. I'm going to stop sharing because, like I said, I can't see anybody. So when we're using these public source, it's really great. We can research our competition in the same exact way. Hey, I'm thinking about adding this product or service line. Look up the top 10 competition in my market share in these zip codes or in this metro area, or if we're national, whatever that is, who are the top 10 players, who owns that market, and where are the gaps? Look up where people are complaining, what are the challenges that they have, and where are my opportunities? So when I bring a product to market, I've already done my market research in such an easy way, because it literally will spit it out to you immediately. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview and see. I'm happy to do live if you have a real business problem. I'm happy to demonstrate live. And I'm also happy to answer any questions, because I've been doing this since before chat was released to the public.
Awesome, man. I'm just like, every time I'm in one of these conversations and I'm mostly listening, I'm just overwhelmed. It's almost like the potential and there's just no limit. There's like no limit to whatever you can prompt or imagine you can have done for your company. So I think it's super important that all of us are on here, because we're all reading about people being replaced with chat, and I think as a business owner you need to know where your threats are, and I see lots of them in lots of industries. But anybody have any questions? Jen, be sure and put in the chat how people would reach you.
Yeah, there's a question about going on to LinkedIn to research professionals. And listen, Angela, use chat and use your brand brain and say, hey, here's the professionals that I want. Search LinkedIn for these professionals. It'll pull your top 100 prospects and it'll do a comparison for you. So that's the yes and to what you're already doing. And I have already told you I'm going to put in the prompts that I used in the flow, because I went through that very quickly. So let me pull that and put that in the chat.
What other questions? Anybody have any questions of Jen while she's doing that?
And if you want to get in touch with me, all of my contact is there. All of my contact is on the handout, but I'm going to put it in the chat too.
Awesome.
Do you really need a different GPT for each C-suite job? If you're in ChatGPT, you do need to have a separate. And the reason is because if you're in one thread, it learns how you want it to reason, and it learns over time, but it also degrades over time if you have too much information. And so if you have a project, or you have your own GPT that is a CPT brain versus a CEO versus a COO versus a marketing, if you define those roles, and Justin was talking about this with Brand Brain, how you're training this, right? You can do the same thing and train it as a strategist. For example, I have a GPT in ChatGPT before we developed the product that I showed you today. I have the strategist, the CEO level strategist. I had the marketing strategy. I had the sales department, and each one operated differently with different system commands is what we're calling them, but that's the instructions, the specific instructions of how you want it to think. And so if you have financial questions and you're going to a CEO frame of thinking, it's going to give you a different style of analysis, as opposed to if you have your fractional CTO or CIO who's looking at your compliance and your data. So you really want a different sort of brain trained for each of those roles to get the absolute best responses. So I hope that helps, Ryan, answer your question. If you just ask a marketing question to it, you're definitely going to get a more specific result if you've trained it to the CMO.
Jen, do you agree with this statement that as an entrepreneur, AI is a great equalizer? I mean, it gives you the ability to compete with companies that have far greater resources, doesn't it?
It does. And let me give you this example. So I integrated my own private LLM in 2022 before ChatGPT came out in beta. It cost me $1.4 million to do it. So think about enterprise level companies that were doing what we now have access to with the tool that I showed you, as well as with like the open source tools. We can access that same level at, I'm gonna argue it's not available in the free version. But when you're in the enterprise version, they're the $20 to $250 versions, depending on the tool. We have the same things that companies at an enterprise level were spending millions of dollars to integrate a couple of years ago. So they're a couple steps. They were a couple steps ahead, but now we have even better technology. It has been commoditized and it's much more reasonably priced. And we have the benefit from learning from all of their expensive mistakes. And it really is an equalizer because look, a company that, pick your enterprise company or your Fortune 500 or even your middle market, they have an advisory board, they have CEO, CTO, et cetera on team. Now we've got it in our pocket.
Yeah. Scott Marker, go ahead.
Yeah, Jen, the question I have is a lot of this stuff gets kind of overwhelming if you're small. Like I'm a franchise owner, NA franchise owner, and what would you do to say how could I best? I mean, use a prompt and say how could I best? Here's who I am. I'm a franchise owner here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho. Blah 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 blah, and then use that prompt and say, hey, build me a strategic plan how I can differentiate myself than the other 60 different types of networking groups here. I mean, and then that's one thing. And then two, it's just tough unless I hire someone like you to kind of know where to start.
Well, the good news is you've got people like me, you've got people like Justin, who we've been doing this for a long time and we've done this in companies. So I think you've got that opportunity always available to you. But the reality is, as a franchise owner, you actually have an advantage because you have franchise documents on how you operate. You have a lot of that done for you, and you can literally have the AI research uploading those tools and then saying, great, this is what the traditional market, let's just use marketing for example. I'm trying to set myself apart in the Houston market. I'm in this franchise and there's these other franchise owners in my same franchise that I'm looking for attention, like I'm competing on attention. And there's these other franchises that we're all competing for attention. Here's who I am. This is like, I'll tell you, like, if you look at business archetypes, I am a rebel with a cause. So this is my brand. I am direct. I am no BS. And I'm going to do things in a different way to set myself apart. That's what I want you to build into my brand statements. And then what you would do is you would say, here's a couple of things. Like if you've got interviews, you can load up the transcript from interviews. You can load up some of your, like research my online presence and find what my voice is. And everything that Justin talked about with brand voice is completely accurate. You can combine those and create that differentiation for yourself. It really is fun when we think about that. And I am not a franchise owner, but there's a lot of competition in all of the industries that I'm competing in. I'm in sports performance. I'm in coaching and consulting. I'm doing a roll up in plumbing and in accounting. So there's a lot of things happening and there's a lot of noise, but my brand voice, to make a point that Justin was making earlier, is what sets me apart. Because you're going to get no fluff, direct. I'm going to find a better way. I'm scrappy. I'm going to find the way to eke out the most profit margin. And I want that to reflect in how I communicate online. So that's kind of a long answer, but you're already ahead of the curve. You feed it what you have, you feed it what everybody else is doing. And you say, this is how I'm different, and allow that to come out. And I do want to say something to everybody in here. AIO, like a lot of people don't have an awareness of how SEO has changed because this keeps coming up. I keep getting people in consulting on this. AI optimization, they don't care what you're doing in your own profile and your own website. What they care about is earned media. So something that a lot of us who've been around the block since, 20 years ago, we used to always have to earn media, which is being published in local magazines or published in Insider or Forbes or one of these, or Wall Street Journal. It's being on television, even if it's local television or radio. Like those things really, really matter. And Reddit really, really matters in AI optimization. And I'm going to just I'm going to ask you to go to Google and do a search and watch what pops up. it used to be, that the sponsored and then like organic. Now it's a box. And 79% of people don't go outside of the AI box anymore. So if you want to show up in that AI box, you have to think about earned media, authentic voice, and value in a different way. So I know that wasn't the topic for today, Scott. I'm so sorry, but
That's
literally
okay.
that is your differentiator. If you're in a franchise, it doesn't matter what your business is, to stand out, find out, go see who you can write for. We have a ton of publications in the Houston metro area, for example, like in your local area. Find out who's publishing what in their little community papers, because even the little community papers matter. See if you can submit an article and become an authority in your space. That is going to truly set us apart in any business as we're moving in the future. That's just, AI optimization is here, whether we like it or not. AI is here, whether we like it or not, and it's up to us to take advantage of it.
Perfect. We got one last question. Jared's wanting to know, what's the cost of your combined version and who exactly is it best for?
Yeah, it's $13.98 a year for the advisory board in your box, in a box for you. It also has the paid versions of Claude, Grok, Gemini, and ChatGPT included in that. So I didn't show you that, but I can swivel and it literally has all of that. But it's $13.98 a year, and it's really, there are two aspects. There's until you hit $10 million, from 0 to 10 million, you would use what I showed you. And then there's an additional like executive advisory that takes you from 10 million to 100 to 100 million as well included. So depending on where your revenue range, from 0 to 10 million versus the other, that both included with that product, you would just toggle down to the bottom to the bottom set to get the higher level. If you're, say you're at a 90 million or 30 million or whatnot.
And just so you know, there'll be a link on Business Solutions in short order. Jen and I are working on that. So there'll be a link if you want to grab it later. Okay, I want to be cognizant of the time. I appreciate each and every one of you. I always am so grateful for you spending an hour and a half with us each month. Look forward to our Sales Mastery on the third Wednesday of the month. In our speaker series, we have a fantastic speaker. If you're using LinkedIn at all, you owe it to yourself to come here, Tony. This guy's fantastic. Joe Applebaum, he's got a product that basically you get on there for 3 to 5 minutes a day and it looks like you're spending 3 or 4 hours on LinkedIn, and it's not reaching out to prospects and bugging them with a sales call. He's got a really fantastic product. So hopefully you'll join us, and we look forward to seeing y'all. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you, Jen, for your expertise. I appreciate both of y'all. Y'all did a great job. Thank y'all. See you soon.